liquidity is never going to be a concern when you're trading futures. Volatility to some degree is going to be capped. You're not going to have these moves.
All the stocks that's breaking out that we see like 100%, 500%, they have a very commonality between them. I do back testing and then forward testing and slowly test with real money.
We know that from the backtesting world to the real world with paper trading to the more real world with live money, there's always some changes or degradation.
And like you said, everything is different. Paper trading is different. When you actually put money in and you see drawdown, it gets to you, the emotion. I mean,
And that's what I've noticed as well. You get a big hype train, a lot of momentum, and everyone's excited. And then a couple things happen.
I'm still exploring trade ideas. You guys have so many features now compared to I think a few years ago. Like I said, you guys do a great job in showing what is active. I need to figure out a way to automate that into my system.
All right, everyone, welcome to interview number 3 of the Portfolio Master Challenge, our Go Low edition or long only edition. I'm very grateful and thankful that we have the winner of the competition here. So we're just going to chat about the markets. We're going to chat about strategy, about how Paul was able to do nearly a 50% gain on his account in only 3 days. It's pretty wild. It was a really nail biter competition. A lot at the end there. There was a lot of back and forth. So I'm excited, and I'm going to introduce everyone here to Paul. So how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, Michael. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, listen, thanks for being here. We love that people will come on and speak with me and just learn more about how you guys are winning. I'm learning as well, and what you guys got out of the contest, and also how we can make it better because we're only getting started. So first of all, I just like your history with trading. So when we were in kind of the green room getting prepped there, you mentioned that you're not generally a stock or not generally a buying stocks type of guy. So just a brief history of how you got into the financial markets, how you got into trading, and then maybe how you got into trade ideas as a tool.
Sure. So I got involved, interested in the market in 2008 with the market crash. But so since 2009, I've been kind of actively trading. Initially, it was currency forex,
Mhm.
but I don't know if you remember the when Swiss currency unpegged from the British pound, a lot of brokerage firm went under.
Oh yeah.
So that kind of shook my faith in the forex market because I knew it was not regulated. So I started looking into futures. So since then, I've been trading futures. And so right now I'm more, actively trading futures. I'm more of a day trader and day trader, scalper. I have done swing trading, especially with currency, but my preferred method is, scalping and day trading because I find the market very interesting.
Yep.
So if I leave in a position on your mind, my mind is always like analyzing, even in the night, especially with futures, it's 24 by 7. So I like it when I close it and, then I'm free.
Yeah.
So a couple of years ago, yes, I would say about a year or maybe two ago, I did get exposed to your software. I did see about it. And around the same time, I knew that, there's every day there was like a handful of stocks that just break out 100%, some even 500%, right?
Yeah.
So I wanted to see how we could tap into this. So I've been working on a strategy. And so recently I just put together a strategy and a model. And to be honest with you, I joined the competition to test that strategy. But I'm glad because your software, early, I think 2 years ago when I looked at it, it didn't work for me because I knew stocks were, you guys basically do a great job at showing which stocks are active, right?
Yep.
But I realized that doesn't mean you can buy all of them, right? Because some of them have already moved. So that is what I was trying to build. What's a perfect time to buy? What's a perfect time to get out? But with that said, I only joined like maybe 5 hours before the start of the competition. So like tomorrow, early morning, the competition is
Wow.
starting. So
Yeah.
I joined today like 11:30. So I didn't have time to test your software. it's got a lot of great features. So I think everybody else did a great job picking up stocks, but I think I did a better job by getting in and getting out at the right time. I think that's where I did better. Yeah.
Well, and the results say that definitely show that. Well, we noticed a lot watching because we're always watching the leaderboard internally at Trade Ideas. We find it a lot of fun. Was just that there was a lot of someone would come from nowhere and they've got a really good trade on a crazy mover, and you'd see them move all the way up the leaderboard and then
Right.
all the way back down. So it seemed like for a lot of people, it was that exit kind of plan. But you said a whole bunch of things that really interest me, so I'm actually even more excited for this conversation now. The first one was that you had built a new strategy and that you were using trade ideas to test it. So, can you walk me a little bit through that process? Because scalping futures, I as a CMT, I'm looking at the screens behind you. I'm kind of picking. I know a lot of the things that are there, but it's a very kind of technical setup, and you're looking at a single security, right? So it
Right.
becomes easier to maybe back test what you're going to do, but the potential move in something like futures is way lower because you're right. You don't have if the Nasdaq ever doubled overnight, or they would just be it would change the world.
Right.
So when you are taking an instrument like that, that is in liquidity is never going to be a concern when you're trading futures. Volatility to some degree is going to be capped. You're not going to have these moves. Then you're going to a completely different universe where you have everything under the sun that you can look at, but there's so many more things to look at again, like volatility of the security and volume and all that. How did you make that leap, and kind of what was it that you started to look for in trade ideas to help you with that?
Right. So again, I didn't have time to get familiar with trade ideas software, right? So I just jumped in. So I was like, while competing, while trading, honestly, like I said, I wasn't competing. I was just testing my model, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have a certain time from 8 to maybe 3 o'clock is when everything is active, right? So,
Yeah.
and like you said, in futures, yeah, you have a handful of instruments that you can keep an eye on.
Yeah.
But when it comes to stocks, there's like so many, right? So I think that's where you guys do a great job. Like like based on whatever factor, your software basically shows which is the most active, and so I'm still working on filtering it out and clearing, creating a scanner and those kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing. I don't think I'm fully tapped into it. So what I was doing was I had different, like the top gainers,
Yep.
gappers, and those kind of um, scanners. I was just on the fly that you have pre-built. I was just checking it out, and so
Mm-hmm.
whatever instrument was showing, I would put that into my template to see if it fits the model, because that's what I'm familiar with. If it fits my model, then it's a good buy. So that's what I was doing, like while trading was going on, I was just manually entering it. What I would love to do is, like, create and I think you guys have a feature. I think the logger CSV file or something. I
Yep.
want to see how I can feed that into. If I can feed that, oh, it'll be great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So,
Yeah.
so just so I understand, so you have a pre-existing model, and is this the same model you use for futures, or is it a different?
No.
No, okay. So you created
No.
a brand new model for stocks,
Right.
and then what you did is every time you saw something that was coming through our scanners as incredibly active or high volume or high moving, you took that and you plugged it in. You said, okay, does it fit these criterias? And then if
Right.
so, you would trade it based off that model. So, not going to get you to unveil your secret sauce or anything, but with whatever you're comfortable telling us about what that model is essentially looking for, and focusing on, I think the biggest problem that I hear from a lot of traders, and what we talked about earlier, is when to get out. Because like we mentioned, there was people who picked the best stock and maybe doubled their money in a single day, all to just
Yeah.
kind of give it back by the end of the day.
Right. Right. So like I said, 2 years ago, I started. noticing that stocks break out.
Yeah.
But so I started observing it, and I realized that they all have the same similar pattern. So I started building. So I I have been exposed to data algorithms, uh, and the whole thing behind it. So I came up with an algorithm, a series of algorithm that basically looks at when to buy, when to sell.
Hmm.
So again, going back, all the stocks that's breaking out that we see, like 100%, 500%, they have a very commonality between them. So I was just able to figure them out. I mean, that's what I
Okay.
would say. Yeah.
So, and again, I love this because a lot of traders that we find have a shoot from the hip kind of mentality on a lot of things. They open up trade ideas, they find what's moving a lot of, maybe they'll read the news, and then a lot of it is by feel. But what I like about what you're talking about and what I always try to suggest for other traders is the model isn't going to be a holy grail or anything that saves you, but what it does is it allows more emotionless decision. Because I love just how you said, I looked at the stock, I put it into my model, it either said buy or don't, and then just leave it. And again, the proof's in the pudding with winning the contest with a couple hundred participants in it. Now, the other thing that I really wanted to focus on is that you had this idea and this model, and unlike a lot of people that I find that have problems trading, you didn't just go, okay, well, I'm just going to put a whole bunch of money into it. You found a avenue to test and to paper trade that first, and a way to do that in a way that is interesting because again you're able to compete and potentially win money. Is that generally the process for you when you come up with a new idea? Is it back testing first, or do you just go straight into paper trading in a live environment and then if that works go real money?
No, I do back testing. So I've been
Okay.
doing this like, almost 15 years,
Yeah.
right? So started with currency. Again, currency is easier because there's a handful of instruments that you can back test, forward test.
Yeah.
Same thing with futures, right? So yes, I do back testing and then forward testing, and slowly test with real money, and then only I'll jump in. So yeah.
And that's another thing to hit because it's funny because you're using the exact model I use and the exact model that we kind of tell other people that first you have to have some strategy, you have to do some amount of testing on that strategy, and then I love how you just said you go from paper trading, which is what we're doing in the contest and what we're encouraging, and then a little bit of money. Because kind of my next question is that we know that from the backtesting world to the real world with paper trading to the more real world with live money, there's always some changes or degradation or any of that. A, do you notice that to be the fact? And B, how much was it in your strategy? Did you notice it tracked pretty similarly throughout, or was it way different in backtest or paper trading?
So specific with the stocks, I was very happy because it was really it worked better than my expectation. But like I said, I've been doing this like 15 years, right? A lot of them are just works great in theory, but in
Yeah.
practically it's and like you said, everything is different. Paper trading is different when you actually put money in and you see drawdown. It gets to you the emotion. I mean, I've come in reality with a lot of my emotions because I've been doing it for 15 years, right?
Yeah.
But it's still a factor. There are times that I'll self-doubt and things like that. But specific to the stock strategy, I was very happy with.
That's good, yeah. And I know there can be a pretty dramatic degradation with one to the other. So if you don't see that, then I definitely think you're onto something. So, again, just focusing on stocks in play, as people call them, or things on the move, or things doing a lot of volume, that makes a whole lot of sense. Now, we put a very specific criteria on this particular challenge where it was long only. Did,
Right.
Is the strategy that you came with, was that long only anyway, or did you have to adapt it in any way, or were you just right off the bat only planning on going long, and we just kind of fit that for you?
Right. So the model, my model looks at both buy and when to get out too.
Yeah.
But I've also noticed you make great returns when you sell too. But since I wasn't allowed, I didn't take part in. Most of these breakouts, I've noticed they go like 100%, 200%, and the next few days is way down where it started. So yeah.
Well, this is going to be very interesting because I don't know if you've gotten the communications yet, but we obviously hope you participate. The next competition that's coming at the end of this month is short only. So I'm going to be really
Oh,
fascinated, and I would love to, even if you're not on, I hope you win, but even if you don't this time, I would love to have you back just to at least answer that one question of
right.
if you take, because I hope you take the same model and just flip it. And if you win again, then we're really gonna have to chat offline to get some of this model.
I would love to. Yeah, I'm very excited already.
Yeah, so
So it's short only, is it?
it's short only, so it's the exact opposite. The idea is that we're trying to guide people into different paths, and like you talked about, experiment, because a lot of traders, when they come to the market, their path is generally the same. First, they'll listen to like CNBC, and they'll hear a guy
Mhm.
who sounds real smart to buy a stock, and they'll buy a stock, and it inevitably doesn't work out. uh,
Right,
and the hope is that if we can create a path for traders to experiment like you have, then we can get some really interesting results. Because again, I'll be fascinated to hear, and you have my email, so definitely email me on how the reverse of that strategy worked. Because in my testing, as someone who's a quantitative, systematic type guy, there has been variations, but generally speaking, if you're on to some momentum move, you get momentum in both directions. So I think it'd
right.
be super cool to have you kind of smash that out of the park. So you're going to try the same strategy, just to the short side this time.
Yes, yes.
That's gonna be cool. Now, when you're looking at trade ideas while we're doing this, the suggestions for people who are entering our short only competition, so you mentioned that when you get these movers, generally a couple days later is when they fade, and that's what I've noticed as well. You get a big hype train, and a lot of momentum and everyone's excited, and then a couple things happen. Either it's a company that's a new company and they need to raise money, so as soon as their stock gets really high, they do an offering, and that drops it, or you just have people move on to the next thing, and that causes a drop. So are you planning on using the same scanners in trade ideas where you're looking for the momentum on that day, or are you going to kind of take note of those stocks and then come back to them on future days?
I haven't figured it out. Like I said, I'm still exploring trade ideas. It's you guys have so many features now compared to even I think few years ago.
Hmm.
So I'm still exploring. But so I don't know the answer. Yeah, I have to figure it out.
When we're done here, I'll take this offline, but I actually have a thing that I think will help you in trade ideas. Actually, let's just go to that real quick, and we'll go to the kind of side by side view here. We have this feature in trade ideas where if you're bringing up a stock that's interesting to you, this one I just have open right here, this SONA, and you click this liked button, this heart right here, that adds that to a specific symbol list on your back end that's unique to your account. And for me, just because this is a strategy that I run myself, if I see something that's going crazy on day one, I bring it up and I click this heart button, and then it will populate a scan of recent runners, where then I can start watching 2 or 3 days later to see if that's something that's starting to fade, or sometimes maybe even a second leg higher. But just wanted to
Got
show
you.
that might be something. If you're
Thank you.
going the way I think you're going, that might be something that makes sense for you.
Great. Thank you.
But yes, we certainly have a lot, and we obviously come to support, come to our live stream, all of that, and we'll certainly help you out with that. Now, Um, did you obviously to make 50% in 3 days? Obviously, you traded with bigger size than I'm sure you would in a normal account. Other than that, was there anything that you've changed on this strategy before taking it live? Is it just going to be a position size difference, or did you do anything that you said, okay, I'm in a contest, so maybe let me lean on something a little bit harder than normal?
You're talking about going forward in live
Yeah,
market.
right, I think you've proven you may want to prove it a little bit more paper trading and with trade ideas you can
Mhm.
do that, but you're obviously on to something. When it's time to go live, is there anything that you're changing, or is there anything that you're changing now that you may be paper trading outside of the contest that you were doing in the contest that you're not planning on doing going forward?
Not from the model, because I like I said, it's been in the works for 2 years. So 2 years I've been keeping an eye on, and testing, like
Hmm.
in my mind and watching.
Yep.
But yes, what I need to work is, the like I said, you guys do a great job in showing what is active. I need to figure out a way to automate that into my system, because right now I'm like a crazy guy sitting and like punching in manually. And there are hundreds and hundreds of stocks, and sometimes you have to go through a lot before you find that perfect one. At least for me. So that is where I'll have to improve. Yes.
Okay, so just further automation. Now, if you were, and I know you didn't enter specifically to win the contest, but some advice for traders that are entering kind of specifically to win. Is there any advice as a winner that you would give them? Specifically when it comes to position sizing, that type of thing, or do you think you just trade the best you can and what comes comes?
It's hard to give advice because something I've realized, we're all very different, right? I mean, trading is personality, and 99% of personality that we bring.
Hmm.
So we all react differently to the market. But if I were to give advice, I mean, this is what I would say: just because the stock is moving doesn't mean that it's going to move next minute. It just so I think that's where everybody gets trapped. Like you said, there was somebody else who was doing much better than me. I think he had like double the profit I had,
Yeah.
but they took more risk, and I think probably in the wrong stocks. So how do you? I mean, there's something that you just have to, just go through it and figure it out yourself. That nobody can tell you what which one to buy, or yeah.
So the you hit there on something that I personally think is everything when it comes to trading. That's risk. So can we talk a little bit about how you dealt with risk, maybe on a per trade basis or per portfolio basis in the contest, and how that may differ or may not in the real world? Because really, and this is an argument that I've given a lot, that at the end of the day, like you said, everyone's different, so everyone can do their own thing. The difference that I've always noticed in successful trading in the long run and unsuccessful trading is managing that risk. And again, in my opinion, it's everything. So, any insights you have to the newer traders or anyone watching this on how to manage risk?
I would go back to the personality thing. So that's something I had to get in touch with. Like when I started trading, I had no fear. Like I was never attached to money, so I could risk it. I could buy things. I know a lot of people who are afraid to put the money into the market.
Yeah.
I didn't have that, but what I had to work on was greed, and I never knew I had greed until I started trading, because currency. I started off with very small amount. I would make like 25% in one trade, and then get into another trade, totally lose like 35%.
Hmm.
So I realized so it took me so many years to control that and get it under control. So now, like when I trade futures, I make some money and I'm done. I don't worry about the next move, what I missed, leaving money on the table. I don't. So what I would suggest is figure out who you are, and then find advantages that works with it. I mean, so that's what I do.
Yeah, and you basically are telling my story there. I think we went down similar paths. I was the exact same way where, for me, managing the risk side of things was never a problem. I'd put a trade, I'd put a stop loss, whatever happened, happened. But where I'm still evolving and still going as a trader is trying to figure out that other side is how to make sure I'm not getting greedy and looking at a massive trade and saying, hey, it's only going to get bigger. Let me go in. Or, like you're talking about, you have maybe three or four good trades in a row, and then you keep pushing, and then eventually, right, the mother market comes to take that from you. So, when you were dealing with that, was it a maximum number of trades that you took? Was it you had a profit target and when it hit that, you kind of walked away? Was it more of a trailing stop? Like, I'm going to try to ride this up as long as I can, and when it reverses, I'm out. Like, what did you decide on as a way to say, okay, I'm done. It's time to go.
So this is a style that I developed in futures, where I get into the market, and then when everybody, the frenzy of market is moving up, that's when I get out.
Hmm.
Usually people do the opposite, right? When market is moving, that's when they get in.
Yeah.
I'm doing the opposite. I get out. So I sell when the market is like really moving up. So I think that discipline over the years has helped me with, particularly when we were in the competition. When I saw that it was time to get out, I would get out. I mean, I didn't worry about, um, like yesterday or day before yesterday, there was a stock, like it hit one. I forgot which stock. I think it was, they had some partnership with Microsoft that fell apart or something. It
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, it.
I don't remember the name either, but I do know which
But
one you're
you know
talking
which one.
about. Yeah.
It hit $1, and then I started getting sell signals. So, but the market still moved, and I wasn't concerned, because for me, I got the sell signal, I'm out. But if you look, end of the day, it was like way down. So, uh, yeah. So I have gone through enough examples like that in real life. So I think discipline is what does.
I always think that that's interesting because uh, as traders, we know into that we are never going to get the bottom, right? We're never going to say, "Hey, I'm going to buy this stock," and that's going to be the absolute bottom of the stock. But for some reason, as traders, we are upset if we sell a stock and it keeps going, right? It's and
Yeah.
I haven't been able to kind of put this into word on how we are trying to how we rationalize that as traders because you hear all the time, oh, I sold it and it went another dollar, and it's like, well, of course, you can't get the bottom and you can't get the top, so you
Right.
should be happy if you can get that kind of move in the middle, and then if it goes on without you, fine. But for me, that's been a big problem, and I think I actually do have the name up here. I actually looked over. Oh yeah, so this is a perfect example. So I'm gonna go here real quick, and this was Mark.
Mark. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
So you were saying that you got out around the $1
A
mark,
little
right?
over $1. Yes.
Yeah, so right here. So yes, it ran further up to a little bit shy of 150, but now it's 52 cents, right? So it's in the moment. If you get out at a dollar and then you see that it's, a dollar 30, a dollar 40, yeah, that might be a little bit bothersome. But just fast forward 2 days and now it looks great, right? You're in, you're out a buck. What a little bit though, who cares? The other thing, and this was going to be another question or maybe one of my last ones, that when it came to liquidity, right? So I was going to ask if that was a big deal, but I think I'm already going to know the answer because you are selling into strength. The liquidity constraints generally will just fade away, right? Because you're not trying to sell on the way back down. As it's
Right.
going, you're happy to take your bid. Is that what you noticed when you kind of did some real trading?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. There was one particular stock that I struggled to close. I don't remember which one, but generally I didn't have any problem. But
Yeah.
because what you said, when everybody's buying, I'm kind of selling. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Hey, I think that's probably a great lesson for all the listeners is that, it's be satisfied when everyone is on the other side, when you're able to, because hopefully everybody who's listening to this eventually will be a very large trader where liquidity constraints will become an issue, where if you're trying to buy as it's moving up, you may be able to do it now with a small account, but that might become incredibly difficult with a large account, and vice versa. If you're trying to sell after the top has come in and it's started to reverse, that might become a problem as well, because if all of the market makers just open up and there's no one buying anymore, then you may see the price on the chart, but that doesn't mean that that's the price you're going to get in the real world. So
Right.
listen, I want to thank you for coming by. I always want to ask this at the end. Do you have any advice or tips or ideas for us, right? Because again, you're the winner of contest number 3. This is something we are planning on pursuing for a long time, at least a contest a month going forward. So, what would you kind of suggest for us that I can take back to the overlords that run Trade Ideas and say this is a good idea to make the contest better?
Um, no, I think you guys do a great job. I think 3 days is good because a lot of us, have other things to do. So 3 days
Yeah,
is like, is manageable. At heart, I'm a product manager, so I have some suggestions I can email to you.
absolutely.
Um, I loved some of the features that you have, which I've never seen any other platforms, and I've tried a lot of other platforms. So, hats off to you guys for that. No, not really. I think you guys are doing a great job. No, I was very happy to be part of it, and I'm looking forward to the next one too.
I was about to say, and again, thank you for coming. We love when we can interview our winners. I am really excited now, knowing that you have a model that you're looking to test on the short side as well, and I'll
Right.
be interested to see. Again, I hope next month you're back here and we can talk about that. Win, lose, or draw. I think it will be super, super interesting content. So,
Great.
thank you very much, Paul. You have a good day now.
Thank you again for having me, Michael. Thank you.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye.